On Monday night, we had the Usos against the Brawns, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. It was a tornado tag team match that the Usos won after Roman Reigns returned again, and he provided the assist. And then after the match was over, Roman and Jay, they were locked in, man. They were on the same page, and Roman is just encouraging Jay, this new angrier, more selfish version of Jey Uso, looking out for himself and his family and nobody else. And you see Jimmy in the background just giving them both a look like he didn't like what he was seeing here. He didn't like Roman's influence over his brother. So the Bloodline story is starting all over again. And no matter what happens with the Temu Bloodline on SmackDown, it will never resonate in the way that this version of the Bloodline has, not just because these characters have been on TV for a lot longer than Solo, Sikoa, and the MFTs have, but because these characters are more fleshed out. And they've taken the time over these last few years to legitimize each member. Each member has a story. Each member has been, spotlighted and put over in some way. Roman and Jay and Jimmy and Sammy, Paul Heyman, they put the work in. They've done none of that with the MFTs. We know nothing about JC Mateo. We know nothing about Tonga Loa. He came back from that injury. He was gone for months. I don't think we've heard a word out of the man's mouth. Same with Tala Tonga, outside of, I love you, Solo. That's about it. They ran a vignette with those guys on SmackDown on Friday with Solo and Tonga and Tala and JC, and Solo saying, there's one piece missing to make them complete. He's teasing basically a Tama Tonga return. And it's like, who cares? Why is Tama Tonga the missing piece? Why should anybody care? We know nothing about the man other than he goes around making funny noises. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. That's what we know about Tama Tonga. That's the difference between these two groups. No matter how many times they go back to that well with these guys in the OG bloodline, there's enough story there left to tell, where they could at least make it compelling. Can't do that with the MFTs. So Roman Reigns is being promoted for Raw tomorrow night, which is back at 8 p.m., by the way. Be aware of that. 8 p.m. this week, 8 a.m. next week. So we'll know then what the match is going to be for Crown Jewel. Now, I had assumed when Raw went off the air Monday night that it was going to be Roman Reigns against Braun Breaker, since Roman already beat Bronson Reed and he was attacking Braun Breaker rather with a chair on Monday. It could be a tag team match, though. Maybe Roman and Jay, if Jimmy wants no part of what they're planning. Roman and Jay against the Brawns. Because they probably want to give Bronson Reed a match, on the big Australia show. The last one they did in Perth, Reed had to miss it because his wife was about to give birth. That was Elimination Chamber last year. So I'm sure he'll be wrestling on the show. But let's say that's the match. I'm going with the Vision for the win. May as well throw out predictions here because this is the last chance I'm going to have before the show. If they do this match, I'm going with the Vision for the win. I think the Vision is going to be leading one of the teams in that War Games match. And I think that they're going to want to keep them as strong as they can heading into Survivor Series. So that would make 5 matches if they add that one to the show. Because right now they only have 4 confirmed. Damian Priest against Aleister Black in a last man standing match. That was confirmed for SmackDown this Friday. They're going to do another Sami Zayn US title open challenge on SmackDown this Friday. So those are not on the PLE. They could add Becky Lynch against AJ Lee for the Intercontinental title. We've not seen AJ at all since WrestlePalooza, but she did tap out Becky, so at some point they have to do that match. And they did announce that CM Punk is going to be back on the show tomorrow night. So it stands to reason that where Punk goes, AJ will be there with him. I have no idea what Punk would be doing at Crown Jewel if he was wrestling on that show. Who would he be wrestling? I don't know. Makes me think that he's there. AJ will be with him, and maybe they do set that match up. Drew McIntyre against Jacob Fatu. That could be a late addition if they wanted to do it, but the rest of the card looks like this. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky are going to take on Asuka and Kairi Sane. I've got Rhea and Io winning this one. Come on, it's Rhea in Perth. It can't go any other way. We got some bad telenovela acting with Io in that opening segment with Rhea on Monday night before Asuka and Kairi came out. And Asuka misted Io in the face, just like she did to Rhea the week before. I love Io. She's the best. At what she does, she's the best. This is not what she does. But she tried, and then later in the show, Io realized that Rhea was right about Asuka, and she said that she went to Adam Pearce to make that tag team match. So that's how the match came about. I think between this and the Roman match, if that ends up being a tag match, I can't see 2 heel wins. I don't think they want it to be that heel heavy, especially the way I think the main event's going to go. I would think they would want 1 babyface win, and this would be it. You know, maybe Kyrie takes the loss, and then Asuka can miss Io again when the match is over, and they could go off and do Asuka against Io. They got a Saturday night's main event coming up on November 1st. They could do Asuka against Io on that show. We have the WWE Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton, against the Women's World Heavyweight Champion, Stephanie Vicaire. Maybe I shouldn't. Is it the Women's World Heavyweight Championship? I guess you wouldn't say that for the women's title, would you? Would that be insulting? I guess it's the Women's World Championship, Stephanie Vicaire. For the Crown Jewel Championship. So it's champion against champion. Neither of their titles are on the line. They had a contract signing on Friday for their match, and it was the most boring contract signing in the history of wrestling. All just to set up an ambush from Julia and Kiana James for a tag team match they're doing on SmackDown this Friday. Stephanie and Tiffany will be partners. Can they coexist? They've really been pushing that Tiffany is undefeated this year. I think that comes to an end this Saturday. I think Stephanie beats her. I also think once Bianca Belair is ready to come back, she's the one who takes that title from Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany has had a very uneventful title run. I can't put all the blame on her. They just haven't had a lot of interesting opponents for her. Tiffany and Bianca could be good, but I think Bianca takes the title, you know, whenever that is. You know, we're getting Bianca and Jade at some point. I would imagine when we get it, pretty good chance there's going to be a title on the line. But it's just crazy that she's missed most of the year with a few broken fingers. You know, she's been out almost 6 months. Obviously, there was that one really badly broken finger that she was hoping would just heal on its own. And if it didn't heal on its own, then she might need surgery. I haven't heard anything about that. So it's a serious injury because, you know, if it doesn't heal properly, it could break again. But when it happened, like, I don't think anybody would have thought, oh, she's going to be out for 6 months. You know, we're coming up on 6 months in a few weeks. That's a long time. I mean, there are wrestlers that are back in less time from torn muscles and surgery. Then there's the match that I am most looking forward to. One last time, John Cena wrestling in Australia against one of his greatest rivals in AJ Styles. And you know, when the story of Cena's retirement run is written, for all the people who are going to blame The Rock for Cena's failed heel run, and he definitely, you know, will share in that blame, it's going to be Triple H that deserves most of the blame because it was Triple H who wanted to get cute and swerve everybody for the shock of it all by turning John Cena heel without any good plan for how to follow up on it. We got Cena not changing anything about his presentation or his appearance because the company had already produced new merch for all the cities they were going to. All right, we had Cena kicking people in the dick and hitting them in the head with the belt. It's like they had 1 foot in and 1 foot out. They never fully committed to turning him heel. And he was never going to be around long enough to really make it work well anyway. But once they turned him back, this is the run that we should have had. You know, outside of the Brock Lesnar match, which sucked. The rematch with Cody was great. The match with Logan Paul was very good. And now we get Cena in the ring with someone that a lot of fans have been hoping to see him back in the ring with one last time. Unfortunately, Cena has not been around. He's not had any TV booked between WrestlePalooza and Crown Jewel. So there was no way to do anything with the two of them on TV, you know, unless they do something on Friday. Now, Friday, they're going to be in Perth. So it's possible they could do something on that show if Cena's already flown in. At the very least, well, I'm sure we'll get a video package on Monday. This one would be hard to screw up. You know, all you got to do is just send them out there and let them do what they do. You know, tell them who's going over and be like, all right, the rest is up to you guys. And they'll be able to work that crowd. That's going to be a hot crowd for that match. Just send them out there and just let them work their magic. You know, AJ gave Cena some of the best matches of his career. Cena won his 16th world championship from him. They come into this match all even, 2 wins apiece. Styles beat Cena at Money in the Bank, beat him at SummerSlam in 2016. Cena beat AJ at the Royal Rumble in 2017. He beat him on SmackDown in 2018. That was, I think, right before WrestleMania. That was a great finish, too. If you remember, Cena was trapped in the calf crusher, and he just kind of rolled out of it, muscled him up onto his shoulders into an attitude adjustment. But whoever wins this wins the feud, and that man will be John Cena. And for the men's Crown Jewel Championship, the WWE Champion Cody Rhodes takes on the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. Here we have a Crown Jewel match that actually has a lot of history between the two men involved, to where the Crown Jewel title itself is honestly the least important part of this match. Rollins comes into this 0 for 3 against Cody in singles matches. Cody really got in his head on Monday. He was stirring the pot, pointing out that Rollins wasn't consulted about Paul Heyman introducing Brock Lesnar for his match at WrestlePalooza. And Rollins said, I knew about that. Clearly he didn't. Same with the Bronze. Showing up on SmackDown last week, Rollins pushed back and said, every decision runs through me. I knew all about it, right? But it felt like he didn't know about that either. And Rollins did his usual shtick where he talks about leading the industry and how the winner of this match will decide the next 10 to 20 years of this entire industry, which is preposterous. And even if you put your kayfabe hat on and listen to this, like, what does that even mean? This is every Seth Rollins promo. You know, he's a visionary. He's a revolutionary. This company needs me to lead the way. Lead the way how? This is never explained. But we hear about it every single week ad nauseum. It's just so tiring. But I like the Cody stuff because it adds a new wrinkle into things where he's trying to drive a wedge between Rollins and Heyman. Not unlike how Heyman was trying to do the same with Cody and Randy Orton on SmackDown Friday night. Right? That was Cody and Randy against the Bronze, with Orton taking the losing fall after Cody got put through the timekeeper's barricade. He wasn't there for Orton in his time of need, just like Heyman said he wouldn't be. How might that tie into this match? I don't think Cody is winning. I think Rollins is finally getting that elusive win. You know, Rollins also lost at WrestlePalooza and Cody won at WrestlePalooza. So I think they get Rollins back in the win column here, especially heading into War Games. But do we see Randy Orton get involved? You know, Cody's been telling Rollins, can you beat me by yourself? I don't know if we see the Bronze try to get involved or not, but if they do, they probably will. If they do we see Randy Orton come out with an equalizer, you know, like a chair to fight them off? And does he play a role in Cody ultimately losing the match? You know, maybe after the match even. Do we finally see Randy Orton drop Cody with an RKO? You know, we have been watching this man stare at Cody's championship for almost 2 fucking years now, okay? He did it again in the opening segment on Friday. It's like these little subtle and sometimes not so subtle glances over at the belt. Like, since Cody won that belt last year, Orton has been staring at it. Someone buy this man a replica from WWE Shop, please. When is his birthday? I'll buy it for him myself. You know, Triple H doesn't cook so much as he leaves the pot on the stove for so long. If he leaves it any longer, he's going to burn the whole fucking house down. We need to move this along soon. They weren't shy about the Orton teases on Friday. I just don't know if they do it here or not. You know, it would give Cody an out for losing. Or maybe Drew McIntyre gets involved. You know, if he's not wrestling on the show. There is a Saturday night's main event coming up on November 1st. You know, they could do one more Cody and Drew title match. Maybe Orton gets involved there. Maybe we end up with a triple threat at Survivor Series with all 3 of them. Or someone suggested on the stream the other night, and I don't hate the idea, what if Jacob Fatu is involved because of Drew? And we get a fatal 4-way for the WWE Championship. You could do that. You could do a title change there and not even have Cody get pinned to lose the title. But that would shake things up a little bit.